Hey YouTube, right here. I know it's been a while since I made a regular video, but I wanted to go ahead and talk on this. I'll probably end up talking about it on a live stream, but I want to get this video out. And this actually has to do with the laws that are going, the bills that have been introduced that are trying to get passed into law in several states, where they're sitting there and trying to say, look, if you are a campus that allows for certain students to attack other students based off of ideology, to try to intimidate them, to impede them from going to class, to threaten them, to try to physically intimidate them or physically attack them, whatever, whatnot, you do not get state funding. Well, the conservatives are sitting there going, thank you, finally. Because we've been on the receiving end of that for quite a while now. But, of course, the left is sitting there and saying, well, you see, this is just the government coming in and trying to suppress our freedom of speech. Your freedom of speech does not include you getting to threaten and assault other people who disagree with you. That is not freedom of speech. Period. End of story. Your freedom of speech does not include going in and pulling fire alarms in buildings when there is no fire. Your freedom of speech does not include running around and disrupting classes because the professor said something that you don't like. Your freedom of speech does not include you getting to pin people against a wall, keeping them from going away while screaming at them. Your freedom of speech does not include you getting to exclude people based off of skin color, off of gender, or off of religious belief. Your freedom of speech does not include any of that. That is not freedom of speech. That is authoritarianism. You are demanding to be able to practice authoritarianism. You are wanting safe spaces from the law, yet you are wanting the law to enforce those safe spaces. That's not how this works. The students at Evergreen College, all of the ones that were demanding that white students leave, should be removed from that campus by force if necessary and not allowed back on to any campus. If they wish to get schooling, they go to another country. They can take them. And I am very proud of our country for starting to pass bills to actually protect freedom of speech. Hell, if by some cosmic fuck up I was invited to speak at a college, I guarantee you that people would see that I was white and automatically assume that I'm going to sit there and say, oh, everyone that's not white needs to be killed. Because that seems to be the fucking mentality of the left at this point. That if you're not some liberal cucktard, then you're automatically, literally Hitler. No. And the reason why I say those students should be removed by force is because they were using physical intimidation. They're nothing more than thugs. They're nothing more than a fucking gang that has taken over the school. But hell, personally, I think the school should just be shut down. I think any school that capitulates to groups like that should be shut down. Because at that point, it's pretty obvious that that school is teaching this shit. That it's teaching that this is okay. That it's alright to attack people for being white. That it's okay to attack people for being Christian. That it's okay to attack people for being Jewish. That it's okay to attack specific groups. Physically or otherwise. Now I want to ask you something. And I want everyone here to be fucking honest. And I want you to sound off in the comments section. If a school was to sit there and even request that all black students not attend for a day because they're black, what would happen? If a school was to request that all Muslim students not attend for a day because they are Muslim, what would happen? If a school was to ask all women to not attend for a day because they are women, what would happen? Do you really think that they would get a whole bunch of fucking backing on that? No, they wouldn't. They would get everyone fucking pissed off at them. Yet for some odd reason, asking white students to not come in for a day, and then physically intimidating the ones that refuse to skip class for that day because they're there for a fucking education. They're not there to bolster your little fucking feelings. They're not there to capitulate to your fucking bigotry. They're there to get an education to better their own fucking lives. To be able to be contributing members to society like none of these fucking students ever will be. No. See, the thing is the school requested that white students not attend. That group then went out and attacked anyone who was white who showed up that day. And this was an attack. It's not, I'm not gonna fucking candy coat it. It was a fucking attack. By their standards. I mean, hell, by their standards, not meeting someone's gaze is an attack. It's a microaggression. Well, these weren't microaggressions. These were macroaggressions. They were pinning people to walls and surrounding them. In one case that I saw on one fucking video, the person that was being pinned up against the wall was physically being pinned up against the fucking wall. This has got to stop. And it sure as hell shouldn't be funded with our tax dollars. I'm sick of this shit. And I know that the rest of the country is getting sick of it too. That's the reason why there's 10 bills in 10 different states being looked at right now to defund these colleges. And I say good riddance. We should only fund colleges with our tax dollars that actually teach freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and uphold those values. If you are going to be a school on U.S. soil, you should have to uphold at least the basic rights of the Constitution. But one of the first things that we need to fucking do to stop this shit from happening is defund these schools, let them flounder, let them go under. And then the new schools that fucking pop up in their place, make it known that if they have these liberal fucktard teachers sitting there and trying to teach this shit again, that their funding will be removed instantly. Now, I'm not saying don't ever hire a liberal to teach. I'm not saying that. But no gender studies. No assignments on white privilege. No assignments on how white people are evil and how black people are the best thing ever. No assignments on how Islam has contributed to society. And this isn't just at colleges. I'm talking about grade schools too. Canada's fucked. I mean, they're fucked. They're gone. After the latest thing that they passed, they're gone. They're done. Canada is lost. So any conservatives living up in Canada, we would be more than happy to have you here in the US. Go ahead, come on down here, bring your sanity with you, let the insanity fucking burn Canada to the fucking ground. Hell, as an American, I welcome all conservatives from pretty much any fucking country. If you're willing to go ahead and come here and assimilate into our culture and go ahead and follow the ideals of our culture, you can bring your culture with you to a degree, but remember that your culture will never override ours. But since I'm talking to conservatives here, I'm pretty sure that they would understand that. Since conservatives tend to not really try to push anything until it really, comes push to shove. But we need to go ahead and start filtering this shit out. We need to stop allowing the younger generations to be brainwashed into this victim mentality. Especially when they're being brainwashed in this victim mentality to the point to where they start victimizing others. They have adopted the mindset of do unto others before they do unto you. And then blame them for it. And I know I'm not alone in that observation. I've heard a lot of people saying pretty much the same fucking thing. But the thing is it is becoming more and more blatant. And I'm telling you right now, at most, we have a few years until we have our own civil war. Unless we do something now. It has now gotten to the point to where political violence is becoming the norm in this country. This needs to fucking stop. And people can go ahead and, blame feminists. They can blame Black Lives Matter. They can blame all this. No, what you need to blame is just political correct culture as a whole. It has failed. Political correctness was doomed to fail from its inception. The reason why, and I'm saying inception, not conception, because the thing is political correct culture came out of polite culture. It is a perversion of polite culture. Now, I'm not against being polite to people. Am I polite to people? Yeah, until they fucking piss me off. But there's no rule saying that I have to be fucking polite. At least not yet. But if these libtards have anything to say about it, they'll have it to where a white person can't say a negative fucking thing about anyone for fear of being branded a bigot. Yet anyone who's not white can walk up to a white person and punch them in the face and say that it was justified, that they deserved it. This is the direction that it's heading in. You can see the fucking signs of it. And they're shutting down anyone that speaks against them, or they're at least attempting to. And then when they can't shut them down by, getting someone to capitulate to their fucking demands, then they threaten. When that isn't listened to, they then go ahead and use violence. I seem to remember a recent event where that Bernie Sanders supporter decided to go ahead and start shooting at a GOP baseball practice. People are trying to sit there and say, oh, it wasn't real. There's video of it. There's a police report on it. There are people that have actually been hurt. Yes, it happened. But then you have to ask why. Well, take a look at your Bernie Sanders supporters. They tend to be the more moderate of the liberals. But the thing is since Bernie was basically ushered aside because they looked at Hillary and went, oh, she has the pussy pass. That means we have a guaranteed win. All she has to do is keep mentioning that she's a woman over and over and over again. And she'll win. And then when she lost, all of a sudden the Bernie Sanders supporters were going, why didn't you let Bernie Sanders run? He could have beaten this guy. I kind of doubt that, since Bernie Sanders wanted to cuck us out. But now these Bernie Sanders supporters, instead of sitting there and actively looking at their own party, saying, hey, they're the ones who fucked this up, they're looking at the Republicans. Yeah, they're looking at the Republicans and blaming the Republicans. It's kind of like sitting there and having a soccer team where 3/4 of the team keeps kicking the ball down to their own fucking goal and hammering it into their own goal, scoring for the other fucking team. And then afterwards, pointing at the other team who's just standing there with their hands up like, what the fuck is going on? Pointing to them and going, oh, they're cheating. They made us do it. That's the equivalent of what's fucking happening here. Their own side is fucking up on epic fucking levels. They're screwing up even more than the fucking Republicans, which is kind of hard to fucking do. But they are doing it and making it look easy. And now they're looking at Republicans and blaming the Republicans. Violence is being committed against Republicans. And they're saying, well, it's your own fault because you're Republican. What? Political violence should never be fucking defended. Period. End of story. But these people not only defend it, but they also condemn it. But the thing is they defend it when it's their people committing the fucking political violence, and then they condemn it on the rare occasion when it's a fucking Republican doing it. And yeah, I said rare occasion. Because how many Republicans have gone after people for political reasons? I mean, physically gone after them. Taken a gun, shot them up. Or gone running out with a knife and fucking stabbed people to death. Running around slitting people's throats. Stabbing them in the fucking side or the back as they're running. How many Republicans have gone out and blown themselves up at a concert full of women and children? How many Republicans have gone ahead and beaten people while wearing a fucking mask and then calling for the police when that person defends themselves? I'm waiting. But the thing is you are going to start seeing the Republicans fighting back through the legal system. That will fail. I'm telling you right now, it's going to fucking fail. Because it's gotten to the point now where these people actually have to have themselves physically smacked down when they use the political violence. They have to see that Republicans are willing to physically fight back. Until then, this isn't going to stop. Because the thing is, they'll get arrested, get sent to jail, and then be out on fucking good behavior within a couple months. And then they'll be doing it all over again. We don't have enough room in our jails because of the libtards sitting there and saying, yeah, no death penalty. Yeah. Kind of funny that, right? It was almost like they realized that they were going to end up with a lot of their fucking asses in jail. And they're all like, oh, well, we need to head this off. We need to head this off. We need to make sure that they can't just sit there and start killing us for this shit. So then they go ahead and they're all like, oh, well, it's inhumane. Alright, yeah, I understand. Lethal injection is inhumane because there's still a lot of pain involved there. You know what there isn't a lot of pain involved in? Strapping a stick of TNT to someone's head and lighting it. That's painless. It's messy, but it's painless. And to some, even entertaining. But that's completely fucking humane. Well, as humane as killing someone can be. Because they're dead before they know it. But I digress. Now, at this point, as much as I don't condone violence, I cannot blame conservatives. And in fact, I would applaud conservatives for physically fighting back. And then when the police come in, after they had been watching the conservatives getting their asses fucking handed to them, but as soon as the conservatives start to fight back, then the police come in to break it up, taking down those fucking police. Because those police are fucking traitors. They are actively not doing their fucking jobs. They are only protecting one part of the population. They are not protecting everyone equally. Now, those police officers in that one area that all ended up quitting, they have my respect. The police officers that were offered jobs there while they try to restaff, that turned it down, have my respect. Because they want to do their job. They want to keep their fucking oath. They want to serve and protect the community, not the select elite. Not the perpetual criers. But it becomes a catch-22, because the thing is, if that starts happening, then people will sit there, you know, the mainstream media will go, oh, look at how violent all these fucking conservatives are. And they won't report, obviously, that, you know, the Antifa groups and the feminists and so on and so forth were actually attacking people well beforehand. Oh no, they won't report that. They'll just sit there and say, oh, conservatives attack. Conservative attack. Conservative attack. Hell, I'm honestly surprised that the mainstream media hasn't started sitting there and saying that these Muslim terrorists are conservatives just trying to make Muslims look bad. I'm honestly surprised that they haven't done that. But like I said, the first steps, get this shit out of our schools. In fact, I don't think politics should be even discussed in school. Not unless you're talking about a fucking history class, and then you stick to the facts of history. Not this alternative history Not, well, it should have been this way. No, not that. I'm talking about what we know, what is written in our fucking history books. Anything that is politically fucking charged, any question that is politically charged, should be met with termination. One strike offense, boom, you're gone. That would get rid of these fucking liberal teachers right quick and in a hurry. Because they just can't fucking help themselves. Because, like I said, liberalism at this point has become a fucking cult. The whole politically correct culture itself is a giant fucking cult. They display that cult-like behavior. They have their leaders that are infallible, no matter what they say, no matter how crazy they are. No, they're infallible. And if you speak against them, then you're just a bigot. They other anyone who doesn't entirely agree with them. And this is no more apparent than when they sit there and say, well, we're on the right side of history. That means that anyone who is not part of that politically correct culture is somehow inherently wrong, is somehow inherently flawed, is somehow lesser, is an other. Therefore not deserving of respect, of dignity, of equal treatment. And then that becomes apparent with the actions that are being taken currently. With all of the riots. The Antifa groups going out and actively attacking groups of people that are disagreeing with them, that are peacefully assembling. Take a look at the stuff that's going on with Lacey Green. I know me and Lacey Green are never going to get along because I'm never going to fucking trust her ass. But the thing is the feminists and SJWs that are coming out of the woodwork to attack her, that are doxing her, that are doing all that. Again, cult-like behavior. Oh, you went against the cult this one time. Well, we're going to show you what it's like to truly be alone. And the thing is unfortunately, Lacey Green is kind of in that. She has very few people with her at this point. Because you got a lot of people over on this side that are sitting here and saying, look, you've done a lot of fucked up shit. We're not going to just trust you straight out the gate. You got a lot of fucking proving to do before we back your ass. And then you got the people from the other side that are sitting there and saying that she was never really a part of the group and that sort of thing. That makes her even more evil. Kind of like when someone leaves the Muslim faith. They must be destroyed, right? And then you see that in its full blossoming form with Evergreen. Where they don't even have the pretense of it. Where they're just all like, no, fuck white people. White people get out. You are not allowed here. Just straight the fuck up. And they don't see the irony in it. And so here we are today. How far are we going to let this go? How far are we going to let ourselves progress backwards? How far back are we going to regress before we finally stand up and tell these spoiled little rich bitch pieces of shit? Because that's the thing. I've noticed a lot of SJWs tend to come from very well-to-do families. You know, families that are upper middle class or higher. Whereas a lot of the lower end people, like the working class, the working poor, and the poor, are sitting there telling them to shut the fuck up, that they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about, that they're being offended on shit that they don't even fucking have a right to be offended about. That no, they aren't being held back. In fact, they are the privileged elite in our society. Funny that. The privileged ones wanting to be viewed as the paragons of virtue. The upper class wanting to be viewed as the victims so they can keep their protected status. No, not like the world hasn't ever seen that happen before, right, people? Oh, wait, except for the fact that that's throughout fucking humanity. It's just now it's being taken to a very literal level. So let's cut the crap, right? Liberalism at this point has failed. And it's not the fault of conservatives. It's not the fault of any particular ideology, but it's the fact that liberalism never knows when to stop. Liberalism will always lead to fucking anarchy. Because once liberalism loses its relevance, it then will become what it says that it hates to maintain that relevance. Hence, liberalism suddenly being associated with feminism, with, the LGBT community. Now defending Muslims. Black rights, which have been around since forever. I haven't really seen any anti-black laws. There are laws that, do disproportionately affect the black community. But here's the thing, like the war on drugs. Everyone's all like, oh, well, the war on drugs is a war on blacks. Well, they're kind of outing themselves there. Where they're sitting there and saying, oh, blacks haven't done anything. They were selling drugs. Just saying. If you didn't have a whole lot of black people selling drugs, then guess what? They wouldn't have been hit by the war on drugs so hard. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I hate the fucking war on drugs. I absolutely fucking despise it. I think it was fucking stupid. I mean, I can understand, going after, crack, meth, all of that shit. I can understand that because that shit kills you off right quick and in a hurry. But like when they sat there and decided to go after fucking weed. What? Really? Huh. I don't understand why they went after weed. There's really no excuse for that. Other than the fact that they don't know how they're going to fucking tax it efficiently, even though there's certain states that have already legalized it and are making a right nice mint off of it. And here in California, we finally get weed fucking legalized here. And now the state doesn't want to fucking capitalize on it, even though financially, this state is fucking floundering. I don't know. California has just collectively lost its fucking mind. There are a few of us that still have our fucking brain about us, but the rest of it, no. Vast majority of this state, But also, the vast majority of this state, English is their secondary language, so, shit. I mean, that might have something to do with it. But I just want everyone to sit there and think about this. How far are you willing to let it go? Don't rely on other people. That's the thing. You can't rely on other people. You can't rely on conservatives at this point as a collective group. Because we're all scrambling around constantly in defense mode. We don't know who to let the fuck in. The only way that we're going to be able to unite is through action at this point. But how far are you willing to let it go? Like, in my area, we don't really have a whole lot of PC culture here. We have one person every once in a while that start, flapping their jaw. And then they all of a sudden realize, oh, I don't have anyone else standing behind me. Except for people that are sitting there and pulling out baseball bats, getting ready to hit me in the back of the fucking head. Because they don't want this shit up here. Fuck. And just an hour away, we have one of the most liberal fucking areas ever. So, yeah. But the thing is, the liberals tried to push in about a year and a half ago. They were pushed right the fuck back out because the people up here are all like, nah, you know what, fuck you. And our judges up here, well, we actually put judges in from our own community. We don't let people from outside of our community come in and in less than a year of being here, them all of a sudden be a judge. We don't do that here. We put in people that have been born and raised here. So good fucking luck. We actually have very few liberal judges in my area. So you don't get a whole lot of the liberal bullshit. But everyone has to ask themselves, how far are they going to let it go? And the next question you have to ask is, are you actually prepared to fight? What are you prepared to fight for? What is worth dying for? You have to ask yourself that question right now. Because we're getting to the point to where you might actually have to answer that question, not with words, but with actions. Keep that in mind. Think about it. What is important to you? How do you think we should progress forward? What do you think would be best for your family, for your children, for your children's children? And of course, also for you. What cause could you fight for that when you die and you go to whatever maker you are, unless you're one of those people that thinks we just poof off into existence. But even if you're one of those people, when you're remembered, what would be a cause that would cause you to stand proudly if someone said, yeah, they died for this cause? Because that is what is important at this point. Because that's the answer you're going to have to come up with very, very soon. And on that note, have yourselves a nice night. Be safe. And make sure that you know where you stand on these subjects. If you ever get blindsided with a question for it, then take the time afterward to find your answer. Have a nice night. I'll talk to y'all later.